Hi everyone, Katie with Trans Refuge. I'm going to cross-post this on my Katie Tries Life channel, so you can find it in either place. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with Ted Cruz and ultimately with conservatism in the U.S. and evangelical Christianity, because they're all tied together. And so Ted Cruz has made some headlines for speaking out against a terrible draconian law in Uganda, which would force the death penalty on people who are accused or found guilty of what they call aggravated homosexuality. I won't go into all the details about what that means because, one, I'm not a lawyer, and two, it's kind of nebulous. It seems to be intentionally left kind of vague so that they can round up, anybody that they want to accuse of it and kill them. In the same law is also a penalty. So if they find it to not be aggravated, if you're just simply engaging in, two adults engaging in consensual homosexual relationship, you get a life sentence. So even though they're not going to murder you, you will spend the rest of your life in prison if you happen to have a homosexual relationship with somebody. Beyond that, there is a penalty if you stand up for a gay person, if you advocate for the rights of gay people in Uganda. You'll be put in prison for 20 years. Where this ties in with Christianity and Ted Cruz is most of what we're seeing right now, even in Uganda, and you think, Uganda, what's that got to do with the United States? I'll get to that. Most of the fervor and the intense hatred of homosexual people and other LGBT people has been driven by conservative Christianity in recent years. Wasn't always the case, but right now it definitely is. So the whole thing with Uganda was greatly helped by a group called Family Watch International, and they are a far-right anti-LGBT group. You can look them up. There's a whole bunch of bad stuff about them. They support conversion therapy and all kinds of terrible stuff. But this place poured money and support into helping Uganda get this thing going. And it was primarily funded by right-wing Christians. Christianity is becoming complicit in a global genocide of LGBT people. Now, I happen to be a Christian, and it grieves me greatly. So, Ted Cruz made some headlines and caught a lot of criticism from his peers and his constituents because he came out and criticized these laws in Uganda. He doesn't believe that people should be put to death for engaging in consensual relationships, and he doesn't think that anybody should be put to death for their sexual orientation. Now, this is a little bit surprising coming from somebody who is well known for being a rather public conservative. This guy has been at the forefront of a lot of the, GOP policies, and he's always advocating for conservative stuff. So it was kind of shocking that he came out against this. And he is getting some pretty strong words thrown at him. So what's going on? Why is this happening? Why would Ted Cruz, of all people, come out against this? I want to preface this by saying this is just my opinion. This is what I think. I can't prove this. But what I think is going on. I'll give an example. Actually, I give several examples all at once. Most of the people I know who fall under the LGBT umbrella, whether they're homosexual, bisexual, transgender, you name it, I would venture to say at least 3/4 of the people I know who fall into that category grew up in evangelical conservative homes. And most of them followed the conservative evangelical beliefs into their adulthood to some degree. Maybe they left it in their 20s, maybe in their 30s, maybe in their 40s or 50s. Who you are, as far as your gender identity or your sexual orientation, it doesn't change based on what you believe. No more can I change my eye color or my skin color by believing something or trying to adhere to certain beliefs. Then I can change my gender identity, by believing something or trying to adhere to some certain belief system. Immutable parts of who you are just that. They're immutable. They don't go away. They don't change. And so Christianity's having this big problem that people who grew up in the church, especially younger people like 40 and younger, are coming to the realization that things like gender identity and sexual orientation, you can't change them. And they're tired of trying to hide who they are. And they're looking at the church's position on such things and saying, well, where's my place in all of this? How do I live in a belief system where I'm not supposed to exist? And you can go watch my video on the Trans Refuge channel, Dogs at the Master's Table. I talk all about this. But the thing is, they're rejecting the belief system that they're raised in because they're finding out that there's no place for them in it. And so circling back to Ted Cruz and what's happening with him, this is just speculation. This is just me giving an opinion on what I've observed with the guy and what I think might be happening. The Republican Party has a huge problem with millennials and particularly with Gen Z, because they're more and more being viewed as the party of hate and the party of the ostriches with their heads in the sand. They don't want to acknowledge that people exist. They want to hide them. They want them to go away. They're literally making laws where you can't talk about certain people. And so the younger people are just like, I don't want anything to do with this. And, that was the reason I left fundamentalism, was I saw the hypocrisy in it. That, how are people who say that they're supposed to love their neighbors themselves going around trying to pass laws to outlaw their neighbors? It's disgusting. To me, it's an affront to Jesus. And On the political front, the same thing's happening with the GOP. The young people hate what the Republican Party stands for. So you got guys like Ted Cruz, who is doing poorly with the younger generations. All of a sudden they're realizing, this younger generation is starting to realize that we instigated a genocide on a global level. And we're going to be held accountable for it, and they're going to come after us. They're going to vote us into oblivion. And in some cases, I think it's possible some of these people might go to prison. But anyway, sticking with the political side of things, the younger people, they really are. They're going to vote these people into oblivion. When the boomers start aging out of the voting bracket, GOP's not going to exist anymore, really. Young people hate the GOP, for the most part. I mean, there are young conservatives, but they're a minority now. So you got Ted Cruz going against his own party in something that is very uncharacteristic for him historically. My own thought is I think he's doing damage control. I think he's looking at his future and saying, I'm not going to stay in office if I don't start speaking things that the younger people are going to find acceptable. I think we're going to see more of this in the months to come leading up to the 2024 election. I think we're going to see more conservative candidates trying to look moderate. I think they're going to be saying things like, oh yeah, we support gay people, we support trans people. Even if their own personal history and their voting records and things say otherwise, I think they're going to start singing a different tune. Like I said, the boomer generation, which has been carrying the conservative vote for a long time, they're aging out. I don't want to be macabre or anything, but they're dying. That generation they're starting to die off. And those who are not dying, they're not as active in voting anymore. And it's going to lead to consequences because the younger generations aren't going to vote to keep people in office that hate gay people and hate trans people and want to ban everyone and everything, including books. The young people look at that and they think, this is disgusting. The generation that were the parents of the boomers literally fought people who were banning books. They started a war over it, and untold thousands died to prevent that from ever happening again. And it's happening right here on our shores, within our borders. So, that's what I think is going on. I think they're doing damage control. I think they're realizing we need to sing a different tune. And I think we're going to start seeing that religious organizations like Focus on the Family and some of these other ones that have been well-known anti-LGBT organizations, I think they're going to sing a different tune too. Because as the political environment changes, the religious environment's going to change because they whore with each other constantly. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the next, 7 years or so brings, between now and 2030. But be careful what you listen to. Guys like Ted Cruz, they are there to get voters. They're there to maintain their power base, to keep themselves in office. They're going to march to whatever tune is going to lead them to victory in the polls. But please understand that we shouldn't hate Ted Cruz or those like him, because even though Ted's motivations may be questionable, I'm still in favor of him saying what he said. I will take what I can get, and I think that I will give credit where credit's due. You know, even if you got there through some maybe disingenuous means. So I hope you're having a good week. I hope that, you know, all the negative things happening in the world right now aren't getting you too down. Hang in there. And, you know, don't forget, reach out to those you love, your friends, your family. Let them know you care, because this is a difficult world we live in. And, you know, just as, you know, there was a song, you know, we all need somebody to lean on. Be ready to be that person. Be ready to lean on. Give somebody a shoulder to lean on. So until next time, have a good week. Bye.